Back talking Cougars on the Coaches Show with head coach Mike Davis of the Lady Cougars. 8-4, is my math correct? I believe it is. On a 4-game winning streak after the win on Monday night at Southwell Complex last week. Enjoying the holiday time is Ashford in town from Iowa. And before we get into that ball game, Amanda Phillips earlier that day was honored as the AMC Player of the Week for her efforts in the 3 games prior with that winning streak, as we talked about in the first segment here after the win over Peru State. Amanda's just been on fire this season. Really has jumped into that role after some of the main players from last year's team moving on, and now she has really stepped into a role and become a big leader for you.
You know, I think what Amanda's done is she really plays to her strengths. You know, she's not someone that's going to average 20 points a game, but she still affects the game in a great way with her rebounding, with her defense, and with all the other intangible things that she really brings to the team. And, her rebounding's been outstanding. Her shot blocking's just been off the charts so far. Actually leads the nation in block shots, almost 5 a game, and broke our school record in the Ashford game with 12 blocks. So been a great leader for us on and off the court, and it's fun to watch someone develop, and she really is.
There was one of the plays, I think she had almost 3 on one play as far as a couple of blocks at once. And yeah, just amazing. The old school record of 9, and now it's a dozen. And the way
I had to really wonder why they kept shooting it on her. You know, there comes a time you change your idea of what you're doing. But, she was really, really good that day. Timing was outstanding, and not only blocking the shots, but blocking them where they came back into play, and we had a chance to get them and start breaks.
And then the transition was fantastic, and you guys ended up putting away a pretty easy victory. I wanted to make a note I noticed from the press box with Shelby Trozy, who doesn't play a lot for you right now, but had one of those plays, a hustle play. Ball was going out of bounds, front row of the crowd. She's practically 2 rows deep, flips the ball back, saves it. 2 passes later, it ends up, Fisher puts in an amazing kind of a reverse layup underneath.
Yep.
And I noticed that you about 3 steps out on the court, praising Trozy's effort, and that's one of those little coaching moments.
Hey,
that's something that doesn't necessarily show up on a stat sheet,
yep.
But was just a good hustle player, a good hustle play, and something that all your players are buying in and having fun.
I think those are things you talk about as a coach that, no one gets to see in the paper the next day. It's not in the box score, and, you don't get all conference or all American for it, but that's what helps you win ball games. And, it was a great play. We had a lot of those. Had some charges taken, kids played at a high level, and I think during our winning streak, there's been a change in that buy-in to the program and an amount of the dirty work they're wanting to do and willing to do.
And again, everybody's kind of feeding off of each other because it is a younger team. There are some girls, but we talked about Amanda Phillips and her role, and Denise Rosario as well, stepping up in some big play for her. I know they had a big girl as well. They're kind of matched up together, back and forth.
No one quite matches up to Denise.
No.
She's a pretty good sized girl. So and during our break or during our streak, she has really changed matchups people have had to make, and really made some tough plays and tough sets for people to have to go against. So I think we've all fed off of her. Now the Ashford game, she wasn't scoring as much, but has really created mismatches all around the court for us because of her play on the inside.
Well, and then when you have such a good attack from the outside between Rice and Fisher and the rest from the outside, English, all are bringing great game from the outside, and it forces teams to, like you said, change things up.
We're getting better. No question about that. We're not a finished product yet, but we've made improvement. And I think at our media day, early in the year, that's one thing I talked about our fans and people who truly enjoy basketball. They like to see a team develop, and I think this is a group that you've been able to see do that through the first semester. Now the key for us is how much more do we develop through second semester. That's going to determine, what kind of a season we have at the end.
Most definitely. A big event coming up for the Cougars the New Year's weekend. A couple big matchups for you, including the number 3 team in the country is coming to town. Let's talk a little bit about those 2 games on the schedule for your Cougars on New Year's.
It's funny. When we first started the women's basketball program here, the first season we had a holiday tournament. The next year, our men joined in with us, right. And I believe it was the following year then that we became, the Cougars vs. Cancer Classic at that time. And it has really developed into a great event. Coach Burchard always brings in some good quality teams for them to play. We've been very fortunate, had great teams in here. This year we have the number 3 team in the country in Campbellsville coming in. So we will play Missouri Valley on the first night, New Year's Eve. And a great local team who will bring a great crowd in here. And then we have Campbellsville on New Year's Day. So really just a fun event. And it's turned into something I think our fans enjoy and really all of Columbia's enjoyed.
Most definitely. And again, and I know William Woods is one of the other teams. Yep. You don't play them in that event, but they're coming in from Fulton and off to a great start for the Owls at number 13, I think, in the country. So. And firing in. And again, it's not just about basketball that weekend, as well as you mentioned, the Coaches vs. Cancer event, a lot of different ways that funds are raised and probably one of the most powerful things is when everyone's kind of down on that court, that's affected by cancer at some point.
And sometimes we lose sight of the big picture. Coaches, we all get tuned into our own little world and taking care of this team and this and that. And so many things go on. And, we just lost a great supporter of Columbia College, Fran Koepke, with a battle with cancer. So it touches and affects each and every one of us. And, any little bit that we can do, someday hopefully we'll be able to help to get that stuff taken care of and cured where we don't have to deal with it anymore.
We'll talk more about those games and the full schedule for the Cougars. You want to find out when you can get out to Southwell Complex and check out the ladies in action, ColumbiaCougars.com. The full schedule is online there. You can also, of course, listen to the broadcast as Rod Kelly has the play-by-play on the website as well. We'll take a timeout, come back more with Coach Davis after this. It's MediaCom Channel 22, the Columbia Cougars Coaches Show.